Welcome to Military Matrix. If in our previous analyses we witnessed a world torn asunder by sophisticated deception, a garage theater perfectly staged in Iran designed by Beijing solely to drag Washington into a fatal quagmire, we witnessed the moment the veil of proxy warfare was ripped away, as the tragedy in the Middle East culminated in a tactical nuclear strike on Israel. And in that same moment, the entire world held its breath. China launched its lightning strike, conquering Taiwan in a blitzkrieg campaign. Tonight, we are not analyzing a world on the brink. We are analyzing a world that has already fallen into the abyss. Episodes 1 and 2 were the lure and the trap. Episodes 3 and 5, which we combine today, are the inevitable consequence. This is the moment the chessboard is overturned, and the true alpha predators, long restrained by the old order, begin their hunt. The US-led world order, built on the ashes of 1945, no longer exists. It did not die slowly. It was assassinated. American credibility has evaporated. The catastrophic failure in Iran, the impotence in protecting Israel from a nuclear attack, and the paralyzing shock of Taiwan's collapse have sent a clear message to every capital in the world. The Guardian has left his post. NATO, the most powerful military alliance in history, now resembles a hollow fortress, its primary sentinel having been struck down on another front. And in that lethal power vacuum, within the Kremlin, a historic decision is made. Russian President Vladimir Putin, who had begun his special military operation in Ukraine with miscalculations and heavy losses, now sees a golden opportunity. His main adversary, the United States, is reeling from internal political crisis, its military depleted of precision munitions after the campaigns in the Middle East, and its political will broken by the Taiwan disaster. Europe, only strong when standing behind the American shield, is now trembling, divided, and panicked by an energy crisis. Russia decides that the time for limited operations is over. It is time to end the war in Ukraine, not with negotiations, but with an all-out thunderstrike. The full-scale assault that is unleashed is not a repeat of February 2022. This is total war, learning from Russia's own mistakes and supported by the near-limitless resources of its new allies in Beijing. The opening act is a symphony of firepower. At 4 a.m. Kyiv time, the largest saturation missile attack since the First Gulf War is launched. Thousands of Iskander ballistic missiles, Kaliber cruise missiles from the Black Sea Fleet, and, most terrifyingly, volleys of Kinzhal and Zircon hypersonic missiles simultaneously strike every command center, every railway hub, every remaining power plant, and every bridge spanning the Dnieper River. This is not a precision strike. This is an infrastructure annihilation blow. At the same time, Russia's most advanced electronic warfare systems, possibly augmented by Chinese technology, create a dome of electronic suppression over all of Ukraine. The Starlink satellite network, the lifeblood of the Ukrainian military, is neutralized. Bayraktar drones and other reconnaissance UAVs cannot take off, or if they do, they are instantly lost. Ukraine, within a single hour, has been blinded and deafened. Then, the ground forces begin to move. This time, there are no 50-kilometer-long armored columns waiting to be ambushed. Instead, elite armored spearheads, supported by crushing artillery density and squadrons of Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopters flying freely in the sky. From the north, a massive force, including the most battle-hardened Guards tank divisions, departs from Belarusian territory, quickly punching through the thin border defenses. Their objective? To encircle Kyiv once again. But this time they do not stop at the suburbs. Spetsnaz and VDV airborne units, in a daring and brutal operation, conduct large-scale helicopter air assaults directly into the inner-city districts, seizing government buildings and strategic high ground. They accept massive casualties, but they succeed in sowing chaos from within while the armored ring tightens from without. The capital city is completely besieged within days. Urban warfare erupts with unimaginable ferocity. The Russian army, no longer patient with street-by-street fighting, deploys its most feared weapon. The TOS-1, a Solnt Spiok, and TOS-2 Tosochka thermobaric multiple-launch rocket systems. These weapons do not fire conventional explosives. They launch warheads that create a flammable aerosol cloud and detonate it, creating a massive fireball that vacuums out all oxygen and generates a terrifying overpressure wave, leveling buildings and annihilating all life inside, even in hardened bunkers. Entire city blocks are turned into raging infernos. Ukraine tries to resist. Its soldiers, hardened by years of combat, fight with extraordinary courage. They use their remaining Javelin and NLAW missiles, staging ambushes in the rubble. But with no Western support, no ammunition, no satellite communications, and no air force, that resistance is merely a desperate final act. What did Ukraine's European allies do? They convened emergency meetings of the United Nations. They imposed new sanctions, but Russia, now economically backstopped by China, is immune to them. Poland and the Baltic states screamed for NATO to invoke Article 5, but Berlin and Paris, looking at a paralyzed America and Russia's nuclear arsenal, refused. NATO did not respond. After months of bloody fighting, with Kyiv almost completely leveled and hundreds of thousands dead, the Ukrainian government has no choice. They announced their unconditional surrender. The consequence is a total reshaping of the European continent. Ukraine is partitioned. Russia officially annexes the entire Donbass, Crimea, and potentially the entire southern corridor along the Black Sea, connecting Russia to Transnistria. The remainder of Ukraine becomes a puppet state, completely demilitarized and under Moscow's tight control. Europe descends into chaos. A massive wave of refugees, numbering in the tens of millions, floods across the borders of Poland and Romania, creating a humanitarian and political crisis that collapses governments and fuels extremist nationalism. The fear that Russia will not stop at Ukraine spreads. Finland, Sweden, and the Baltic states realize the NATO shield was an illusion. The old continent has been abandoned. And while Europe is plunged into darkness, in Washington, another emotion is rising, an emotion more dangerous than fear: rage. The United States, the nation that sees itself as the city on a hill, the beacon of freedom, has just tasted failure after failure, deceived and bogged down in Iran. Impotent as its ally Israel was struck by a nuclear weapon, stunned into paralysis as Taiwan fell, and now, completely passive as Russia erased a sovereign nation in Europe. The humiliation is total. American prestige is not just damaged, it is destroyed. In the Pentagon, in the halls of the White House, and in the boardrooms of the military-industrial complex, a consensus forms. America must strike back. Not symbolically, not with sanctions, but with fire. But strike back where? Against whom? A direct war with Russia in Europe means nuclear apocalypse. An attempt to retake Taiwan is militarily suicidal now that China has fortified the island into an impenetrable fortress. The answer lies where American power is still supreme, on the high seas. And the target must be the enemy that indirectly caused all of this, the one who staged the Garage Theater and benefited most from the old order's collapse, China. The target will not be the Chinese mainland. The target will be the South China Sea. America, in its fury, decides it will do what it has hesitated to do for decades. It will no longer conduct simple freedom of navigation operations, FONOPs. It will launch a full-scale military campaign to reclaim, or rather destroy, the illegal artificial islands China has built and militarized. They will break the back of the PLA's South Sea Fleet. Operation Pacific Fury, a hypothetical name, is activated. This time there is no warning. The campaign begins with a massive stealth attack. B-2 Spirits and the new B-21 Raider strategic bombers, taking off from distant bases in Guam, Hawaii, and even the continental United States, fly in total silence. Their targets: the hardened air bases and radar facilities on Fiery Cross Reef, Subi Reef, and Mischief Reef. These bombers are not carrying conventional bombs. They are carrying GBU-57, massive ordnance penetrators, and newly deployed air-launched rapid response weapons, ARRW hypersonic missiles. In a matter of minutes, the runways, hardened aircraft shelters, and massive radar domes, the things China called its unsinkable aircraft carriers, are reduced to shattered concrete and twisted steel. The artificial islands are completely neutralized from the air. Simultaneously, a saturation cruise missile strike is launched from the U.S. surface and submarine fleets. Hundreds of Tomahawk Block 5 missiles with in-flight retargeting and advanced anti-jamming capabilities are launched from Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and Virginia-class attack submarines lurking deep beneath the waves. Their targets are not the islands, but China's strategic naval bases on the mainland. The Yulin Naval Base on Hainan Island, home to China's strategic nuclear submarine bunkers, is hit hard. The piers, fuel depots, and repair facilities are engulfed in flames. This is a direct blow to the South Sea Fleet's ability to project power. The naval battle erupts immediately afterward. China, shocked by the audacity of the attack, responds furiously. The planned South Sea Fleet, despite its main base being hit, sorties its remaining forces. Type 055 and Type 052D destroyers, along with attack submarines, steam into the sea to engage. The first modern, large-scale naval battle between two superpowers has begun. F-35s from U.S. carriers, like the USS Gerald R. Ford, engage in dogfights with land-based J-20 fighters. U.S. Aegis warships, firing SM-6 missiles, engage in long-range missile duels with Chinese warships armed with YJ-18 missiles. China does not hesitate to use its carrier killer weapons. Volleys of DF-21D and DF-26 anti-ship ballistic missiles are launched from mobile launchers deep within mainland China. The skies over the South China Sea are lit by the fiery trails of re-entering ballistic warheads and the desperate interceptors SM-3s and SM-6s fired by the U.S. fleet. In this chaotic battle, America takes heavy losses. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, after successfully intercepting 6 incoming missiles, is struck by a YJ-21 hypersonic missile. The ship does not sink, but it is heavily damaged, ablaze, and combat ineffective. An F-35 squadron, lured into a radar trap, is ambushed by Chinese PL-15 long-range air-to-air missiles, suffering heavy losses. The U.S. carrier strike group, despite shooting down most threats, sustains damage and is forced to pull back and regroup. But China is also grievously wounded. Its artificial islands, the pride and symbol of its expansion, are completely destroyed. They have been proven sinkable. More importantly, its South Sea Fleet has been crippled. Several of its capital ships were sunk by Mark 48 torpedoes from the unseen Virginia-class submarines. The Yulin base is severely damaged, likely taking years to repair. In the end, America has won a tactical victory. They have proven that, even when wounded, their naval and air power remains a force without equal. They have burst China's A2AD bubble in the South China Sea and restored a fraction of their military credibility. They have sent a clear message to Beijing: there is a limit to your expansion. However, this victory comes at a staggering price. The losses in ships and aircraft are immense, and it reveals the vulnerability of surface forces to hypersonic weapons. China, shocked and badly wounded, realizes it has underestimated the rage of a cornered superpower. They do not want an all-out war with a berserk America. Beijing is forced to the negotiating table. A fragile ceasefire is signed. China accepts the destruction of its artificial islands as a fait accompli, in exchange for the U.S. withdrawing its fleets from the immediate strike zone. The South China Sea, once a contested area, has become a temporary demilitarized zone, a lethal sea where neither side dares to risk its high-value assets. The world has been completely altered by the events of episodes 3 and 5. The Russo-Chinese-Iranian axis has consolidated its control over the Eurasian landmass. Russia has gained Ukraine, securing its western flank. China has gained Taiwan, breaking the first island chain. Iran dominates the Middle East. The United States, though successful in landing a punitive blow on China in the South China Sea, paid dearly and could not reverse the larger strategic losses. The old bipolar world order is gone, replaced by a chaotic multipolar disorder defined by regional power blocks, where there is no global policeman and every nation must fend for its own survival. The military matrix has been reset, not by treaties, but by hypersonic missiles, by the ashes of leveled cities, and by the blood of sailors on a burning sea. Thank you for watching Military Matrix.